الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وحبيبه قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل دينه حتى أتاه اليقين فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جزيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وأمتنا على ملته واحشرنا تحت لوائه وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم آمين. We are continuing to cover the topic of the unity in the Muslim Ummah and in our community. And this topic is taking so much time because it is central. It is one of three pillars for us to regain our victory and to regain our dignity and to secure a good future for our next generation. The three pillars, as we mentioned before, for the strength and the power of the Muslim Ummah rely on the power of our faith individually and collectively. The power of unity, working together, and this is what we're focusing on. And then the power of preparing to face up to whatever enemies comes to want to destroy or negatively affect our worldwide ummah. Those are the three pillars. The power of our faith we spoke about, the power of our unity is what we're talking about. And in the section that we are handling since last week, it is addressing the issues relating to how do we become different and how to handle our differences. Last week we spoke about the fact that the first step that we need to do to start our first walk towards unity is to acknowledge our differences, to acknowledge that Allah meant it to be, that it does have benefits for all of us. If we were all copies of each other, life would have been very boring. You hear your kids when they say this is boring. Life would have been very boring if we are all alike, because there is no difference. Our strength is in our differences, whether it is difference of faculty, differences of attitude, differences of opinions, differences of ideas, differences of backgrounds. All of these are sources of strength. The only problem is all of these differences and all of these sources of strength face our desire to shape others in our own image. Shaping others in our own image means that you marry and you want your wife to be 100% what you want, but you don't want to change yourself 1% to meet her 1 to 99 halfway. So our insistence on changing others rather than changing ourselves is a flaw. It is a flaw. And people tend to claim that I love Islam, I love Allah, and I want the whole world to be Muslim. What about you? Oh, it takes time. I don't have time for the Quran. I don't have time to come to the masjid. I don't have time to do the basics are left out for others to do, but I will do what I decide I can, which is literally what I want to do, and I will do it when I want to do. That has to change. This is a negative attitude. So the first step is to acknowledge that Allah created us different for a purpose. What is the purpose? We mentioned last time and before, لِتَعَارَفُوا وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. Even the difference of faith, people who believe in God, people who refuse to believe in God, that also is meant to be. It is part of His plan. Allah says in the Quran, هو الذي خلقكم فمنكم كافر ومنكم مؤمن. Allah is the one who created you. Some of you will turn into kufr, denying Allah, their creator, and some will turn into faithful people. These are not things we should fight over. And by the way, the Quran never told us to fight anybody because of their faith or their car or their ethnicity or the land they have that it's good for us to use. None of that. Only those who fight you, you will fight back. So we need to understand that the fights and the wars that we initiate, whether internal amongst ourselves or some of us initiate with others, are uncalled for unless there is a point of self-defense. This is what the Quran says. And that's why the Quran says, فَإِنِ انْتَهَوْا, if they stop, فَلَا عُدْوَانَ إِلَّا عَلَى الظَّالِمِينَ. The Quran also says about two faithful communities, two believing communities, two Muslim communities. If they got into a fight, فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا فَإِنْ بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي. Fight the one that commits aggression. Both are Muslims. Both are Muslims. And Allah say, fight the one that commits aggression. This has nothing to do with their faith. They are Muslims. But it has everything to do with the element of aggression. So we must refrain from engaging, let alone initiating, fights over not faith issues. We are fighting over fiqh issues. We are fighting over scholarly opinions. We are fighting over superficial, very light issues. Why? Because we tend to succumb to our animal part of our nature rather than the human elevated nature that Allah has given to every human being. Allah says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. The son of Adam we have honored. We have given dignity. And if you live with dignity and you live in dignity, you want this dignity to travel to everybody else. You want to protect the dignity of everyone else for your dignity to be protected. This life is a life of reciprocity. Even in our relationship with Allah, there has to be reciprocity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. Remember me so that I remember you. أُدْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Ask me and I will respond to you. I will answer your prayer. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. So we need to understand the nature and the sunan and the rules of engagement. Even in engagement with Allah, there are rules. The fact that we grew up out of rules, out of the Islamic etiquette, away from the proper Islamic upbringing, away from Islamic principles of interaction, it doesn't mean that those behaviors would linger with us until we die. We have to change. Some of us understand that their habits and their attitudes are things they grew up with, for good or for bad. And we all have bad habits and good habits. We all have it. Why? Because we are humans. But a Muslim is always struggling to get rid of bad habits and bad attitudes and to replace them with good, positive habits and attitudes. This is the struggle of life. When we talk about jihadun nafs, struggling and striving against yourself, it is not only desires or physical desires. It is much more the moral desires that I want to control you. I want you to do what I want, when I want it and as much as I want it. That has to change. We have to accept. Part of accepting differences is that I recognize you as you are, and I help you recognize the part of yourself you do not see. The Prophet ﷺ captures this in a hadith saying, Al-mu'minu mir'atu akhi. The believer is a mirror for his Muslim brothers. Al-mu'minu mir'atu akhi. The believer is a mirror for his fellow believer. So do you fight with your mirror when it tells you this doesn't look good? Normal people wouldn't, but we know that crazy people fight with their mirrors. And we do that. When somebody says, this is wrong, this idea is wrong-headed, that opinion is not authentic or it's not founded, we fight. We fight. And sometimes, unfortunately, we even add our own feelings. So if I love you and you say something wrong, right? And we are in a meeting, I will give you a pass because you are my friend and those other guys are not. So I didn't want to embarrass you. So the truth doesn't matter. But if you are my enemy, I will expose you in front of 1,000 people. So we add salt to a very irritated wound when we mix our positions with our feelings. We do this a lot of the time. And the Prophet ﷺ teaches us objectivity, that you deal with people according to your own principles, not according to your feeling. According to your own principles. So if somebody did something wrong to you, he hurt you, you have one of two options: to hurt him back or to overlook, forgive, and move on. You have these two options. So what we're saying is, first, recognize the differences. Second, accept that the differences are the reality. Thirdly, point out things that you see wrong in me, for me, and to me, not about me. When you see something wrong with your brother or your sister or your wife or your husband, don't spread it away, but just be an honest mirror. Don't exaggerate and do not underestimate or underplay what you see wrong. Because we are an ummah of truth and justice. Truth and justice. When we speak, Allah says, وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا. When you speak, say nothing less and nothing more than the truth. You don't have to exaggerate a situation or a description to make a point. Let the reality speak through you and let yourself be an honest mirror. Acknowledge that there are differences. Accept that those differences are real and decide. If you want to marry that person, recognizing all of this, marry them. But if you are unwilling to accept any of those things that you don't like, don't marry that person. Many of us marry and say to themselves and to others, I hope she will change. I hope he will change. He told me he will change. He will quit drinking. He will quit drugs. he will leave bad friends. He will look for a job. No, marry someone who doesn't have those awful habits that destroy the family. Don't let your love, your crush over somebody be your only motive. Catch people who at least match the basics of your faith, the basics of the manners and the level of manners that you welcome, love, and accept, so that life can go forward. But as you are looking for things in others, look yourself in the mirror and see if you are a match. One of the things the late Sheikh Al-Ghazali, Muhammad Al-Ghazali, Allah yarhamu, used to say, he says, the worst dishonesty is when a family looks for the best wife for their worst of kids. They are looking for the greatest of wives they can lay hands on for the worst of kids they have. And what is their excuse? Maybe she will help him be straight. What a victim. What a relationship. So, as we are talking about recognizing our differences, we want to talk about how to handle those differences. One of the things that we need to recognize is the fact that even if we are from the same family, and you are my half-twin, and we went to the same school, we were brought up in the same household, playing with the same friends, we are still going to be two different people. Each one has an independent soul, nafs mustaqillah, independent heart, which means what? You love what you love, I love what I love. You dislike what you dislike, I dislike what I dislike. We are twins, but we are two people, not one. If this is true, how much more true it is that your spouse is not you. And you should never try to make your spouse who you are. One of the false measures that we measure each other by is that when I want you to do what I would do if I were in your place. If I were you, I would do this. Wrong-headed. Because you know that this if is a false if. He is not you. So if you don't know whom you're talking to, don't assume that he is the other self of you. He is not. He's a different person. So this kind of approach of wanting or assuming that you are my copy, or you should be my copy, or you should be reformatted, using computer language, you should be reformatted to copy me or be like me or to meet my expectation. All of these are false-heading assumptions. The Prophet ﷺ received people that he liked and people that he didn't like. He received hypocrites who came and met him at his home. And he received people who were, when they hide, when they are away, they talk bad about him. And he would know them. And they will talk bad even in front of him. And Aisha radiallahu anha would ask him, why do you do this? He says, Ya Aisha, وَهَلْ عَلِمْتِينِي فَاحِشًا? Did you know me as a vulgar person? I would answer word for word or tit for tat. I wouldn't do that. That's not my nature. That's not who I am. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited us from treating people the way they mistreat us. And he called it idiocy. He says, لا يكن أحدكم إمعة. Let not any one of you be a following idiot. And he defines what the following idiot is. He says, يقول أنا مع الناس إن أحسن الناس أحسنت وإن أساءوا أسأت. I am like people. If they do good, I do good. If they do bad, I do bad. ولكن وطدوا أنفسكم. Train yourself and get yourself used to إن أحسن الناس أن تحسنوا. If people do good, you outdo them. You do better. وإن أساءوا, and if they do bad, أن تتجنبوا الإساءة. To avoid engaging negative for negative, something for worse or for the same. So when you see somebody reacting impulsively, tit for tat, you need to know that this person has not learned yet what his deen tells him to do. He may be ignorant. He may be impulsive. But that doesn't mean to let him do it. Take him on the side and tell him the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. In the hadith also, the Prophet ﷺ says, ليس المسلم بسباب ولا لعان ولا طعان ولا فاحش ولا بذيء. Imagine if we remove that stuff from our language. ليس المسلم بلعان. A believer, a Muslim, is not a person who spits curses right and left. ولا طعان. He is not slanderous. He doesn't slander people. Cutting off your integrity, your credibility, in your absence, in your presence, and he doesn't care. ولا طعان. ولا فاحش. He does not spit foul language. ولا بذيء. He does not speak hurtful language. He does not use street words. So brothers and sisters, while we're at it and talking about how do we accept our differences, recognize them, and celebrate whatever is useful and positive, we must also stop doing what is negative. So before I charge you to change yourself, I have to work on mine. I have to work on my bad habits. We always talk about listing your worst 5 habits and taking a specific time to work on those habits. Some of us, our habits will not change until we change what we do for living. Because what we do for living may not be right. Some of us will not change until they achieve change for themselves inside their own family. The first step is to adjust your life within your family. Those are people who rely on you for living, or for service, or both, for guidance, for knowledge. If they don't get the best of you, who's going to get the best? Some of us, unfortunately, are much better outside of the family than they are within their family. Despite the fact that they will cite the Quran for you and tell you, Al-Aqrabun awla bil-ma'ruf, that your kin deserves the best of you and the most out of you. Some of us are fighting, and the only thing that's at stake is, she is not doing what I am saying, or he is not doing what I am saying. When we break our promises, we create havoc inside the family. وَأَوْفُوا بِالْعَهْدِ. If I don't have enough manners to keep my promises and respect my word, there is no likelihood that anyone else would. So if you are the man in the house or the lady of the house, make sure that what you're doing is consistent with what you believe. This is how you build a peaceful family. Most of the fights inside the family is because what I want versus what she or he wants. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala predicated our unity on the foundation that we are Muslims, which means we all submit to Allah. Of course, if you live with somebody who's always breaking his commitment to Allah, how do you expect them to keep a commitment to you? And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, pick the religious prospect. Don't take anyone. فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ إِنْ جَاءَكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ. Deen defines who you are, assuming that you learn it, you understand it correctly, you absorb it, you internalize it, and you practice it. Those 4 issues are left out of the discussion. Once we love someone, nothing becomes important. When someone tells us, I love you, this is the word we're looking for. What else do you want? He loves you, she loves you. But no, I want to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want to follow his guidance, because love can change, but deen must be a constant in our lives. So there is a huge difference that we tend to miss, which is the difference between claiming to be Muslim and being a Muslim. Being a Muslim is different. Being a Muslim means you live by Islam. So when somebody says, I want to marry, do you have a prospect for me? I'm looking for a wife. And I say, what are you looking for? I want someone who is religious, who is this, who is this. And I say, okay, how about you? Are you religious? Do you have good manners? Do you keep your word when you promise? Do you respect your commitment? Or do you want someone who commits to Islam that you yourself are missing? So we have to be careful that we do not ask of others what we should ask of ourselves when we do not actually ask it of ourselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to do the right thing. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد عبدك ورسولك وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ومن اتبع بإحسان إلى يوم الدين اللهم آمين. A piece of good news that we just heard yesterday, some of you might have heard it, but many might not. Brother Abdul Rahman Al-Amoudi is out. Brother Abdul Rahman Al-Amoudi is out of the prison, and he has some time to continue in a halfway house in Washington. And on behalf of Al-Hijrah and the community, I want to extend our congratulations to Brother Abdul Rahman and to his family. Brother Abdul Rahman served our community even when he was in prison. How could somebody do that? He used the time to call out, to call Dar al-Hijrah and other people he knew, to tell them, this brother is in a crisis. Somebody needs to reach out to him. Because some people that he used to serve when he was out were still calling him, and he would communicate their needs to either institutions like Dar al-Hijrah or friends that he knew before he was incarcerated. Brother Abdul Rahman is one of the major players who worked hard when he headed the American Muslim Council, now a defunct organization. He used to work with politicians and with everybody, and it was at his time at AMC that Muslims got their first step into the White House. The first invitation ever to come out of the White House to invite Muslims in Ramadan or Eid was a byproduct of his work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his life and open the best of gates for him, for his family, and may Allah open our hearts to receive him well and try to help him out of where he is to where he should be. Allahumma ameen. So one of the things that we need to focus on here is our vision for our world is a 360-degree view. You know 360? When you see things from all sides. Nobody could be at 2 points at the same time. So the only way that we as a community or as an ummah see things for what they are and see them fully is to rely on each one of us looking from his angle and sharing what he or she observes. So we have issues that we may ignore, not because we want to, but because we don't know about them. Let us take, for example, family needs. We have a lot of needs within some families here that we're struggling to meet. Unless every one of us becomes an eye and an ear when you hear that some family is in need, unless you speak about it, we will not know. Your brothers in the community would not know. And unless we share with you the needs that we receive from others in the community, you will not be able to help because it's out of your mind. You don't know it. So part of the 360 vision or view is that we must share information and we must respect everybody's perspective because everybody is talking from their vantage point. You see it from the north, I see it from the south, he sees it from the east, she sees it from the west. So collectively, we can see everything clearly. And this is part of the blessings of our differences. In this case, the difference of your position, your location, your position in the society. Maybe people think you can help them with lots of things, but maybe you can't. I get people who ask me for the most strangest of things because they think the Imam, he can do anything. And I end up, of course, using your generosity, your time, your ability and willingness to volunteer and help and catch whomever I can to help with needs I cannot meet. We cannot meet as an institution. So we have needs that require that we work collaboratively, all of us. There are people who are looking for jobs. There are people who are looking for a car. There are people who are looking for a place to rent or buy. Definitely, we have people who can help with those needs. But I'm telling you, I'm telling the administration, it is past time that those needs take place on our website. We need not to work with pens and papers for life. We are in the electronic age. We do have a website. We want anybody who has a job opportunity to post it first on our website. And anybody who is looking for a job to look on our website and try to see what is available and where, and try to meet the requirements. We want to allow people to post their resume privately for people who have the job, to send it to their email so that it's private and it's protected. So I call on the administration to take up this project right now and make our website functional for the real service of our community needs. We need to activate and get working better the matrimonial page on our website. So please, if you have skills in any of these areas that can help Al-Hijrah, talk to Brother Samir, talk to the administration. We need everybody's help. If you can volunteer and it's only 1 hour, a week, tell us which hour you are available, and the administration will tell you what is needed and how you can help. This is how we build a community that is compassionate, a community that is loving, and a community that is efficient. When we become efficient, your child is not going to be bullied at school and stand by himself. Nor would we leave your family to stand by itself in front of abuse or anything like this. When we become a family and feel for each other and work hand in hand, we are all better off than where we are today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts and guide our hearts to do what is right. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا وإذا أردت بقومنا فتنة فنجنا منها يا مولانا غير خزايا ولا مفتونين ولا مبدلين ولا مغيرين. اللهم لا تدع لنا في يومنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا سائلا إلا أعطيته ولا مسافرا إلا سالما رددته ولا مجاهدا إلا نصرته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته. اللهم ارحم أموات المسلمين. اللهم اختم لنا بخاتمة السعادة أجمعين مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فستذكرون ما أقول لكم وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد.